And JJ Racaza, who's a Department of Homeland Security agent and was a contestant in Top Shot, History Channel's reality show. So first off, I'd like to ask you, please tell us who you are, your work, education, part of Philippines you are representing, and anything else you'd like to share.
Well, my name is JJ Racaza. JJ, a lot of people ask me where JJ comes from, and not normally just, it's a nickname that my father gave me. His name is Joseph, and he wanted to call me Joseph Jr. because I was pretty much a daddy's boy, I guess you could say. And so JJ came about, and it stuck with me. I used that primarily in the shooting world, not in my profession, nor was it used in school. But I started shooting when I was about 8, 7 years old. As far as I can remember, really, I started with a little air rifle, single-shot, bolt-action gun, and from there it developed into me being able to handle the 45 1911 when I was about 9. And since then, it took off, and it started out as just a self-defense matter for the houses. My dad was always on call. He was a doctor in the Philippines, and I was the only one left at home quite a bit, me to be able to protect the house just in case.
I see. So are both of your parents from the Philippines? Or, I mean, from Cebu, From Cebu, Philippines?
Both my parents are from Cebu, Philippines.
Okay, and you were also born there, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So what about your education? Where did you go to school?
I went to New Milford High School, played some basketball, golf, and then I graduated in 1998. Went to Seton Hall University, the Pirates. I graduated there in 2002 with the Bachelor of Science on Business Management Information Systems.
Great. Also, how did you get into your chosen profession?
It started a while back. When I graduated from college, all I was doing really, while doing the college thing, I was developing my shooting. And at that point, all I did was I tried to manage and juggle the schoolwork with my shooting practices and shooting tournaments. However, as soon as I was done, one person came up to me. At that time, he was somewhat not my friend yet. He was just someone. He was pretty much an acquaintance of mine, Mike Seeklander, and he approached me and asked me if I was interested in doing some contract work, instructing work with a company for DHS at that time, and this was around 2002, 2003. And he told me about the money and how much money I was going to make, and I said, you know what, that's an awesome gig for something that I love to do. I was like, I would do this for free, but if you pay me to do it, I'd even be happier. So I jumped right on in, and next thing you know, that was the door, or my foot in the door, and the door wasn't really quite open yet, but I shoved myself in there, and I guess 8 years later, here I am, as one of their agents now, instead of their instructor.
Awesome. Congratulations. How did you become a part of Top Shot, History Channel's reality show?
That started out with a simple message on Facebook from a friend, Ronnie. He brought it up, and he said, you know what, this is something that you might be good, and this is something that you kind of was born to do. And I looked at it, and from the descriptions, any shooter will look at it and go, this is for me. And they said the 3 criteria they had in there was personality. I figured I've always had a big personality because I know my mouth always got me in trouble. And 2, you have to be in great physical condition. I work for the government. I work out every day, constantly. And 3, they say mind-blowing shooting skills. I wouldn't really call my shooting skills mind-blowing. I don't know. It's kind of hard to see that, but I know I was fast, and I'm one of the top-tier shooters, at least in pistol-wise, with speed and combat shooting altogether out there right now. So I figured, you know what, I have a pretty good chance at it, so I put in for it. And little did I know, I got called for the top 50, and top 50 made it to the top 16.
Well, yeah, you were definitely an inspiration to a lot of people on that show. What was your most memorable experience on Top Shot?
Seriously, the most memorable experience that I had in Top Shot was making the friendships that I did not expect to make while I was on the show. I was on the show, obviously to win the money, and I told my parents before I left that I said, you know what, I owe you guys this much. If it wasn't for you guys, it was, I wouldn't be here. So I told them, I said, my present to you guys is if I win this, I'm giving you guys all the money. I said, I'm not going to take anything. I'm going to give you guys all the money. It's time for you guys to enjoy and retire with your careers now, whatever. And that was my goal. But obviously that didn't happen. But one of my, I came there to compete, and I came there to win. That was one thing in my mind. And when I went over there, all of a sudden you get to know these people, and you have nothing to do but talk and learn from them. Instead of hating them, you know, you want to learn from them. At least that was my goal, is to learn from each and every single one of them. They were there for a reason. They were good. So I got to know one of them, each and every single one. Kelly, Pete, Danny, Adam. Even Adam, he tried to vote me off. I learned from him. Tara, and then, you know, it goes on from so forth. Next thing you know is, 16 guys, and you did not want them to leave. You did not want them to get voted off because you started getting along with them, and they were like family at that point.
When you got on that show, did you feel like you had a lot more to prove as possibly being like the only Filipino to ever be on a reality show that doesn't consist of breakdancing or singing?
I didn't, I tried to not look at it that way to put any more pressure on me. I knew I was proud enough to be even on representing. I knew I was gonna be representing the Filipino, the Asian community by being on that show, and so I didn't want to think of it as much anymore because I knew I already had the government on my shoulder. I already had my sponsors, and at least the USPSA that I shoot for was going to look at me and pretty much, or look at the guys that was in it as a representative and as their ambassador, hopefully, if they don't embarrass themselves. And so I already had enough pressure on me, so I tried to just enjoy the moment. Being Filipino is always something that I'm proud of, and it's just nice to finally be recognized. Otherwise, like you said, other than singing and breakdancing.
Yeah, definitely. What does being Filipino American mean to you? And I also want to add to that, being growing up as a Visayan in the U.S. because before I started recording, we spoke earlier that your first language is Cebuano, and it's also mine is also Visaya. So that's I also had an interesting experience growing up. How was yours growing up in the States as both Filipino American and Visayan?
Well, being a Filipino, actually being anything other than American here in the U.S. is a little tough when you come here from your country first off, and you kind of had to learn the culture. It was a little tough. The transition phase was a little hard. Speaking the language was hard. Didn't understand much of anything that anyone was saying because they were saying it too fast and they were saying it in slangs. However, as a kid, and my parents brought us up well enough where we were able to adapt, and they supported us and gave us all that support that, it just came positive, and we knew what we were here for. It was for a brighter future, obviously, and, you struggle a little bit, but once you get through that barrier, it's just, the next thing you know, that struggle just makes you a better person, and through the years, it just, the pride grows in you, and you realize, you know what, I've made it. In a sense, I've made it, and
yeah, definitely, there's no question about that.
But in a sense, I made it, and I made it on. I would say, luckily enough, for some ungodly reason, I made it on TV, and somehow I was portrayed decently. I would say, pretty good compared to other people. It could have gone completely bad, and now I'm the lead farms instructor I run the farms program for DHS, the Department of Homeland Security, and it makes me proud to even look back at my career and I go, man, little Cebuano, little Filipino guy runs this firearm program. It's pretty amazing.
Moving on to the next question, what do you feel needs to change with Filipinos and how the world views us?
Well, that's a very touchy subject. I don't want to tell everyone what they need to change, what we need to change. For one thing, I guess we need to be able to open up. Like anyone else, we can't close ourselves up to just cliques of our own kind. Although we do, it's understandable that we are comfortable with our own people, our own kind. However, we have to open up our visions, and I think Filipinos are able to do that a lot more than I would say others, from my experiences, from what I see. We're very adaptable people, and I think we just can't carry that chip on our shoulder that everyone's trying to challenge us. We have to accept them for what they are and adapt to a certain situation, and just look for the better thing out of it and try to make yourself better by doing something positive instead of trying to retaliate or something like that. That's all I want to say on that one, actually.
Okay. Moving on to the next question. Since you have an important position in the U.S. and you deal with security, what My question is regarding the this past August in Philippines that received a lot of backlash on the hijacked tourist bus that results in 9 deaths, which included 8 Hong Kong tourists and an ex-policeman who seized the bus. What are your views on this incident, and how can the country improve on their crisis situations?
You know, I can't really. I'm speaking obviously from what I saw on TV and from the criticisms that the Philippines have received. I wasn't there. There was no first-hand experience. But however, from what I saw, it seemed to me that there was a lot of politics involved. Some of the people that they've chosen to do the mission, to finish the mission, are pretty much friends with the guy that ran amok and ended up killing, like you said, 8 Hong Kong tourists and himself. So there was a lot of hesitation. There was a lot of friction, I would say, going up to that moment. Once someone turns, you can't. I mean, it's hard. It's easier said than done. But once someone turns to doing something evil, you can't look at him as the same person anymore. You have to take care and deal with that person as he is at that moment.
Okay.
Being in the Department of Homeland Security, working for the security and dealing with terrorism, dealing with all of this stuff, I took it personal, especially that it was from the Philippines. I looked at it and I go, man, I can help. My passion is teaching. I've always wanted to teach, and I'm glad I'm in the position where I'm at, where I get to live my dream. And with my skills in shooting, I know I can share what I've been doing for the last 15 years. Being able to explain it, like no one can. Being able to see things that no one can. I'm not saying no one can, but not a few people can see and can do, And I know by bringing the right group of people, you can help. And these guys seem like they had lack of training. I know they definitely need the support from the government, from our Philippine government, to get funded with the right tools. They were trying to break the glass, and they didn't even have. I don't know. Yeah. It's just so hard to say that, but it's like I said, it's easier said than done. A bus clearing an entry is probably one of the. I wouldn't really dare say simplest, but it's just a little easier than clearing a building, or I would say clearing a hallway or a tight quarters area. A bus is, you need about 6 people, and it just wasn't done right. And it seemed like they weren't supported. They didn't have the right tools. They didn't have the perimeter. They had cameras all over the place, broadcasting everything. And the camera, from what I hear, the guy that was the terrorist, the hostage taker, had TV, live feed in his own bus, so he saw everything that was going on from the outside. So there was a lot of things that led up to that disaster, and it's sad to see, but I doubt that's going to happen. Filipinos are resilient, and I'm sure we're trying to find ways and to fix that remedy. I'd at least to find a remedy of that situation at this point.